Hey guys, we took a week off from our bell ringers and I found some new challenging ones for us to do, and I hope you're really gonna like these. I think they're something a little bit different than the first batch we were doing, so I kind of like that better. All right, so we're gonna start with, instead of fact families, we're refreshing our memory about multiplying and dividing by powers of 10. So we're gonna take our number 12 and we're going to multiply it by 10 and by 100. So 12 times 10 gives us 120. Remember, we have to match the number of zeros on the left side of the equal sign and the right side. For 12 times 100, I have 2 zeros on the left side of the equal sign. So I also have to have 2 zeros on the right side. So my product for that one is 1,200. Now I'm going to take 12 and divide it by 10. To divide something by powers of 10, usually I tell kids the easiest thing to do is rewrite the number. If it's a whole number and the decimal point is understood to be there, then go ahead and add your decimal point so that you can see it. Move it over one place if there's just one zero. So since I'm dividing by 10, I'm moving my decimal point over one spot. 12 divided by 10 is 1 2/10. 12 divided by 100, again, the decimal point is understood to be there with whole numbers, even if you don't write it. We're going to move our decimal point over 2 spots. Oh, look at those adorable little baby butt cheeks. They're so cute. So 12 divided by 100 is 12 hundredths. That makes sense. If I had $12 and I wanted to share it, my $12 with 100 of my closest friends, each friend would get 12 cents. Okay, now for our measurement problem, we're switching from US customary units of measurement. Those are inches, feet, yards, and miles. We're switching from those to the metric system. And the metric system fits in nicely with what we've been learning about in math because the metric system is based on units of 10 and 100. So if we have 14 centimeters and we want to figure out how many meters that is, we have to remember that there are 100 centimeters in every meter. Okay? Think about what your reading teacher would tell you about this root word for centimeter. Centi stands for 100, like a centipede, right? Or somebody who's a centurion is someone who has lived to be 100 years old. Now we're moving from centimeters to meters, so that's fly to horse, divide, of course. I'm going to take my 14 centimeters and divide that by 100. So my decimal point will move over 2 spots. 14 centimeters is equivalent to 14 hundredths of a meter. Then when I convert 75 kilometers, I'm going to write this out longhand, 75 kilometers to some number of meters, I have to remember that kilo stands for 1,000. So there's actually 1,000 meters, 1,000 meters in every kilometer. The kilometer is the larger unit of measurement. If you ever went to jolly old England and you went for a really long bike ride, they would say, oh, how many kilometers did you bike ride today? So kilometers is your larger unit of measurement. Meters is your smaller unit of measurement. For meters, I think of like the 100-meter dash or something if you're running. Okay, so I'm converting from kilometers to meters. So I'm going horse to fly, multiply. I'm going to take my 75 kilometers and multiply it by 1,000 meters in each kilometer. And let's see, I'm going to multiply my non-zero digits first. So 75 times 1 gives me 75, and then I have 1, 2, 3 zeros. It's like, holy moly, 75,000 meters. Wow, that's a lot. Okay, now we're moving on to equivalent fractions. So let's always start with what we know, not with what we don't know. A fraction is a part of a whole. So here we have a fraction. It's been named 3/6. So let's imagine that we have a delicious French bread pizza and it's been cut into 6 equal pieces. And Miss Lynn is feeling super duper hungry. She's already eaten 3 of those pieces. Would it seem more natural to say Miss Lynn has eaten 3/6 of the pizza, or would you just say, oh my gosh, Miss Lynn, you already ate half that pizza? So 3/6 is equivalent to 1/2. That's an equivalent fraction you could name. Now remember, the fraction bar here is actually a division sign, or a division symbol. So you can read either of these two fractions, 3 divided by 6 equal pieces, or 3 divided into 6 equal pieces, or you could read it 1 divided by 2 equal pieces. Okay, we're going to take this number and round it 3 different times. First, we're going to round it to the nearest tenth. So here's my tenths place. My hundredths place is going to help me do my rounding. 5 or more, go up a floor. So I need to round this to 40 and, whoops, wrote that wrong, 40 and 5/10. Then I'm going to take my original number, 40 and 45/100ths, and round it to the nearest ones place. So here's the digit in my ones place. My next door neighbor in the tenths place is going to help me round. 5 or more, go up a floor. 4 or less, let it rest. So I need to let 40 rest where it is. 40 and 45/100ths rounded to the nearest tens place. Here's the digit in the tens place. And I have a 0 in my ones place. So I'm going to let it rest at 40. Okay, here we go with subtracting decimals. We have not done this yet. This is really exciting. Okay, so we're going to take 7 and 75/100ths minus 3 and 96/100ths. Now, until you get really used to doing adding and subtracting with decimals, just think about what you know about money. Because really, you know how to add and subtract these amounts if they were money, right? If I have $7.75 in my piggy bank, and then I spent $3.96, you would know how to solve that, I'm sure. Okay, one thing that's important to know when you're adding or subtracting decimals is that your decimal point stacks right in line. Your place value just stays right in a stack. So you can just drop that decimal point down. Now I see I have some regrouping or borrowing to do here because 5 minus 6 can't do it. 7 minus 9 can't do it. So I'm going to borrow from the 7. That becomes a 6. This becomes a 17. I'm going to borrow from that too. Now I've got 15 minus 6 I can do. 16 minus 9 gives me 7. And 6 minus 3 is 3. So that leaves me with $3.79 in my piggy bank. All right, now here is a new and interesting and challenging way to organize line plots using data that has fractions. Okay, now whenever I see these line plots, this is what I immediately think of. A few years ago, I worked with this teacher. She was a science teacher, and for one of her units, she brought in a bunch of wriggly earthworms for her students to measure. And they measured all these earthworms, and of course they had lots of fractional amounts because an earthworm might be 2.5 inches long, not just always 2 inches long. And they made line plots showing how long these earthworms were. It was like the most amazing project ever, but also a tiny bit gross. So just like with our previous line plots, we don't know what this data represents. It could be the length of earthworms for all I know. We also don't know what units of measurement these could represent or if they are measurement, but we can organize them anyway. Same way we organize whole number pieces of data. Look for your smallest piece of data first, which I see is 1/4. So I'm actually going to start with 0 and then go 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Let's see. And I see I have one piece of data that's bigger than one whole. So I guess I'll go from 0 to 1 to 2. And then I'll divide each space in between my whole numbers into 1/4, 2/4, which I know is the same as 1/2, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4 is the same as 1 whole, 1 1/4, 1 2/4, which is the same as 1 1/2, and 1 3/4. Oh, fun. Okay, so here's my first piece of data, 1/4. And I have 1 1/4 all the way over here. That's my biggest piece of data. I have 3/4, 3/3. Now 3/3 might trick you up unless you remember that 3/3 is the same as 4/4, is the same as 5/5, is the same as 6/6. They all have the same value. They're one whole. So we're not going to let that fool us. And then we have 1/2, which is the same as 2/4. And there's my line plot. This is what a line plot should look like. I'm going to show you something that mistake. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. Something new and different for you this week. This is a common 5th grade mistake. Look, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 1 1/4. This is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people put their intervals on top of their line plot and not what I've been showing you, which is the intervals go on the bottom of the line and then the X's go on top. So this is incorrect. Don't want to see that. That's a very common 5th grade.